Zehm Alohim here. Tonight's topic is God with a capital G. Who is God with a capital G, or what is God with a capital G? Does God with a capital G exist or not? Pretty hard to say, since, as far as I'm concerned, there's no way to find out. This entity called God, with a capital G, of course, and I'm not going to keep on repeating God with a capital G, we'll just call it God, this concept, the all-knowing, the omnipresent, the everlasting, infinite God. Such a thing cannot be labeled. We're talking about the creator of the universe, right? We don't understand the universe. We've hardly even scratched the surface as it is right now. And being that if you look at our chromosomes and the chromosomes of a chimpanzee and compare them, there's only between 0.5% and 2% difference. So how is it that we can understand and comprehend an infinite God, an infinite being? There are many people who will tell you to look in the Bible, the book, the Holy Bible. And by the way, holy just means complete, which is what it means, or what it meant when the word was first used as an adjective to describe the Bible, the book. In any event, yeah, there's a lot of people who will tell you the answers are in the Bible, but then there's a lot of people who will tell you the answers are in the Quran. And other folks will tell you it's in the Bhagavad Gita, and then there's other folks who will tell you it's in the Torah, and on and on and on. I've read these books at different points in my lifetime. Even tried to believe what's in the Bible, for instance, and the Torah, which is part of the Old Testament. The Christians call the Torah part of the Old Testament, or whatever. It's just semantics. And the more you read these books, the more you discover that, wow, really? Seriously? God tells Lot to go into Sodom or Gomorrah, whichever it was, both, and then he lets these strangers have sex with, i.e., rape his daughters. Then he leaves, and God tells them not to look back as he destroys the city. But wife's Lot, being the curious sort that she must have been, takes a little peek. She turns into a pillar of salt, or stone, whatever. What's the moral, value of that story? I don't get it. And are we supposed to believe that Jonah or any man could get swallowed by a big fish and survive for 5 days in its belly? An intelligent person would say it's a metaphor, it's a parable. And I'm certain that that's probably what it was meant to be. But people that are fundamentalists would rather think that it's true. And that's just juvenile. It's insane. It's not going to happen. People can't survive in the belly of a fish. They can't even get down the throat without being chewed up to pieces by whatever it is, a shark or whatever. And if they could get swallowed by a fish, they would suffocate if they made it in one piece. And then they would get torn apart by the various enzymes in the stomach. It's silly. There's a lot of things in the Bible that just are insane. You're supposed in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, there's verses that tell you that if your children curse you, you are to have them put to death. Now, it doesn't mean, I have to say that it doesn't mean if your children swear at you. It means if they attempt, or if they cast, or if you believe they cast an evil spell of some sort upon you, then you have them put to death. That's crazy. And it's just nuts. And how many children do that to begin with? Maybe they did then. I doubt it. And another thing is, all these so-called holy books were created, were written hundreds, several thousand years ago. How is it that men or women knew more than people know today? They didn't even know the earth was round, most of them. They didn't know that it revolved around the sun. Well, some did, but most of them didn't. They believed the earth was flat, and that the stars and the planets and the sun and the moon all revolved around us. Very egocentric thinking, but as far as they could see, that's what was happening. So you gotta give them some whatever. But we know better now. We know better about a lot of things, about science, about math. Just a lot of things. We have a lot more knowledge of what goes on in the universe. However, I must say that we're only scratching the surface, hardly even scratching the surface at this point, because we know next to nothing about the universe. We may think we do, and we may know a lot more than we did 100 years ago, but the universe is, as someone once said, not only stranger than you imagine, it's stranger than you can imagine. Now, there are more recent so-called holy books. There's the Book of Mormon, which is written in a biblical style, a King James style. And some say it was plagiarized from somebody's novel, whatever. But it's bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. Joseph Smith, who supposedly wrote it, he came from a family of con artists. And his big con was starting a religion. And Another, um, another new religion, Scientology. More bullshit. Started by L. Ron Hubbard, who wrote some great science fiction short stories, which I used to enjoy driving across the country. And so one day he came up with another science fiction tale, and he decided that he would turn it into a religion. Seriously? And people believe this. And why do people believe things like this? Why do they believe the Bible or any of these other books? Or these people that get behind pulpits and preach? Why do people believe this? Because people want to believe something. They want to believe it. It makes them feel good. It makes them less afraid of death, less sad that their loved ones have passed away. Who wants to think that a family member who's passed away, this is gone? This is never going to be seen again or heard from again. Much easier to believe that there's a place in the far beyond, in heaven, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying that that's impossible. I'm just saying it's not probable, and there's no definitive proof of it. Now, the problem with believing in things like heaven and life after death is that what do I want to say? It makes this life seem so much less important. And being that this life is most likely all you have, at least we know that we're here. As far as we can know anything, we're alive. And for many of us, it's not so bad being alive. I quite enjoy it. And if you're putting all your eggs in the afterlife basket and diminishing the quality or diminishing the importance of this life, of this existence that we have, in favor of, a life afterwards, some kind of existence in some other world, then you're selling yourself short. Friedrich Nietzsche said, forget about the afterlife. Enjoy standing in the cold rain, or sitting in the hot sun, the warm sun. Enjoy the pleasure and the pain. For it's not just every day is priceless. It's every hour, every minute, every second that you're alive. Because baby, this might be it. This might be the whole thing. And to not take advantage of this fluke of existence, being a human being on this beautiful planet, that's the greatest sin of all. That's really missing the mark, missing the point. You're here, and you're in the now. Make it count. Work towards a goal, but enjoy every minute of it. Never make the goal what you're really, what you're really wanting. It is, never make the vacation next month you know, everything. Enjoy every minute that leads up to the vacation, or enjoy every moment that you're working on a project of some sort or another. Whether it's making music, painting a picture. I like to use, um, you know, artists as an example. When an artist paints a picture, the artist must enjoy the process. Or when a composer writes a song or a symphony, the composer should not be going, God, I can't wait till this is done and then played in front of an audience, because this is just a drag. Composing this. No. Be in the here and now and enjoy. That's what the composer does. That's what the artist does. With every brushstroke, there's love in every brushstroke. There's love in every note that's composed. And of course, not all of us are artists or composers or sculptors. But I think it's important to treat our lives like that. And use the brushstrokes as a metaphor. Every time you talk to a person, it's a brushstroke. Do it with love. Do it with respect when you can. I don't advocate respecting people who continually disrespect you. I don't say that we should not be angry at people who shit on us or other people. Maybe you should enjoy the anger. Don't take it too far, because I certainly don't advocate violence. That's not going to get you anywhere, unless you absolutely have to defend yourself against bodily harm. And in my lifetime, that hasn't happened a whole lot. Times I've been threatened with serious bodily harm or death, I didn't use violence to get out of it. I walked away. I used words to keep the wolf at bay. There are times when people have to use violence to counteract violence, but those times hopefully are going to be very few and far between, unless you're a soldier in a war or something. Even policemen, for the most part, don't have to use their weapon, their sidearm, or whatever, very often. Most of them don't. So, getting back to the God with a capital G, I think it's more important to revere life with a capital L, living with a capital L, because that's what's really holy, or whatever you want to call it. That's what's really important. Live life like an artist paints a picture. Every stroke of the brush, it's done with love. Every word that comes out of your mouth, try to make it with love. It's not always easy. We're animals. We have instincts, feelings, emotions that sometimes are hard to control. We're not some kind of robots. And we're very closely related to the other apes, the chimpanzee. And that's another reason why we can't understand this thing called God. Because our minds, our brains, are not equipped to understand something that's that big or small or whatever it is. The minute you try and label something like that, that kind of entity, the minute you put a label on it, it's invalid. That's not what it is. So in conclusion, I would like to just reiterate, live life like you've never lived it before. Love like you've never loved before. Work like you've never worked before, and play like you've never played before. Savor every moment of every day. But there's no guarantees of an afterlife. Enjoy what you have, not what you wish for, or pray for, or have a notion that you're going to have someday. Live and love in the moment. It's the best you can do. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about God with a capital G, because it's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. Just live and enjoy. Enjoy the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. For once that brain stops functioning and the heart stops beating, you won't be able to take part. You won't be able to take part in the great fluke of existence any longer. Unless there's something I don't know. And that's possible. That's possible. But until I see more evidence, good evidence, I'm not living my life for something that's not supported by any cold, hard data. And with that, I will say farewell and adieu. Arrivederci. Adios, my friends.